Welcome back to the Blitz and Kick podcast. I am your host, Brad, joined by my best friend, Kyle. And today on the Blitz and Kick podcast, we're going to bring you the 2026 NFL Mock Draft 2.0, if you've been following along with us. Our first one was on Substack, and this one is going to be a video. Kyle, I'm not even going to get into all the technical issues it took us to get here. Let's just dive straight in. Now, we've had a lot of conversations about this. There's been a lot of differing opinions on where some teams could go, but it's not hard at one. I'm just going to go ahead and just put it out there. The Las Vegas Raiders are going to select Fernando Mendoza. Makes sense. Quarterback out of Indiana. Incredible. Good timing, good passer, good pocket presence. He isn't probably the best quarterback ever. Like, if he was in next year's draft, he'd probably be like the 8th guy off the board.
Or last year's draft. Yeah,
that too. Yeah, but you know, for this year's draft, for where the Raiders are, I think it's safe. I think it's a safe pick, and I'm okay with a safe pick in this instance because it's a glaring need. Geno's gone. You got Brock Bowers. You've got GNT now. You got to make something happen, and the best way to do that is through the quarterback. So quarterback at 1, Mendoza.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like you said, if he was in the class next year. Also, if he was in the class with like Drake May and Jaden Daniels, I don't know where he would stack up in that class. Probably not as high as Caleb Williams or Drake May.
No.
But yeah, they haven't drafted a quarterback since the first round since Marcus Russell. So, you know, thoughts and prayers with the Raiders. Hopefully they make the right pick and get him some help.
Sure. So let's go ahead and hop over to the New York Jets. Kyle, if I'm picking out a car that I want to drive and I'm the Jets, I'm going to pick a Rolls Royce, and that's exactly what Arvell Reese is, a Rolls Royce. Why do we have him so high in this category for this draft?
Yeah, I think he's the guy that you want to build your defense around. Everybody's looking for the next Micah Parsons, Abdul Carter, shout out Penn State, next Myles Garrett per se. They want a guy that can just change an entire defense with his freaky athleticism and his pass rush ability, his playmaking ability, and I think the NFL thinks he can be that guy. He played stand-up linebacker at Ohio State, and he also played some edge as well. He has some snaps at rushing the passer, but he's not fully fleshed out as an edge player yet. But I think the Jets going to a 3-4 defense, I think you can see him on the outside, rush the passer, stop the run, and also be really good in coverage. If you can do all 3 of those things as a stand-up edge rusher, you make yourself so valuable. Now it's just up to the Jets. If they do select him here, it's up to the Jets to mold him and make him better and make him more aggressive and make him more of a pure pass rusher because he doesn't have that many snaps as some of these other guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's what we've talked about before about production versus talent. And Reese feels like a talent pick, which is fine. That's totally acceptable. But that brings us into our pick 3. Pick 3, we have the Arizona Cardinals on the board. I went this pick, and I went David Bailey. And there's a lot of different ways the Cardinals could go. You could definitely go offensive tackle. But I just feel like best talent on the board, best juice behind what he has. And that just feels Bailey for me. He was explosive at Texas Tech. And for a Cardinals team that hasn't had much of an identity either on offense or defense, I want those guys that bring some juice. I want those guys that have a little bit of fire. I want those guys that are going to make me stay up and be afraid as an offensive tackle. That's the guy that I want to draft.
Yeah, and I think for the Cardinals, like you said, they could pick probably pretty much anywhere besides tight end, honestly.
Yeah.
Name me a position and they could use him. So I would think that if I were the Cardinals, I would be looking to trade back if there's a willing trade partner, just because there's so many holes to fill in that roster. But yeah, if they do stay there, I think it's just take the best player available. And right now, I believe that to be David Bailey or Ruben Bain. I think they're going to go David Bailey just because Ruben Bain has short dinosaur arms, and NFL teams don't like that. So yeah, I would agree with this, and I could definitely see that happening.
For sure. Tennessee was your pick. Do you want to walk us through what the Titans picked and why?
Yeah, I went with Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame. The Titans did so much on defense in the offseason so far. We know Robert Saleh is their head coach. He went out and traded for Jermaine Johnson. They got Cordell Flott and Alontae Taylor at corner. They signed John Franklin Myers, I believe, as well. They've invested heavily into that defense. And offense, what did they do? They overpaid for Wan'Dale Robinson. So, as the Titans, you need to help Cam Ward out. Every young quarterback should be helped out. And while I don't think they're a team that will benefit from Jeremiah Love's first few years, I don't think they're going to be that good. I do think this could help Cam Ward just take some pressure off of him. Jeremiah Love is a very good running back. He's also a really good pass catcher out of the backfield too. And I think he could work nicely with Cam Ward and bring some juice to a pretty lifeless Tennessee offense. And hopefully Brian Dable can do better with Cam Ward and Jeremiah Love better than he did with Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley.
See, and all of this is to assume that Saleh and Dable want Cam Ward. That's what we're under the impression of in this draft, is that they're going to keep Cam Ward and build around Cam Ward. It might be that Saleh hates the dude. And we won't know, but with that point, if he is staying and this is their focal point, absolutely home run pick with Jeremiah Love. I love that. The over-the-field threat, the power back kind of role. And even he had to split the backfield, and he still was a dog. So, that feels like a good destination. I did see a mock today where they had him going at 7, and I was kind of okay with that too. But I love him at 4, especially for a Titans team that, like you said, lacks kind of, anything. So,
yeah. I think by the moves of free agency, it really seems like the Titans, the Giants, is where he's going to go. Because we know the Browns have a stable of running backs. The Commanders signed a couple. The Saints got ETN, right? The Chiefs got Kenneth Walker at 9. So maybe he could slip to 10 to the Bengals. But I really see him at 4 or 5. I don't know if he's going to go beyond that, honestly. But I guess we'll find out. Giants are up at 5.
Yeah, I went back to something that you and I had done in a couple mock drafts previous to this. Sonny Styles going to the Giants. Edge rusher. I mean, Bain could go here, but they don't need any more of that position there. Jeremiah Love is gone. I'm sure that the Giants are going to take a hard look at Caleb Downs here, but you've got Javon Holland. You've got a couple things that are there to keep it from being a pressing need right now. And if I were to identify a pressing need, it's definitely linebacker, first of all. And second of all, Sonny Styles is like the premier linebacker of it's just not, he's just a linebacker. He's all over the field. He makes plays. He's a converted safety. So even then, if they still wanted to put him in some safety packages, they could. I feel like this is a checks every box kind of pick for the Giants, and this is a great way to get Harbaugh, a defensive-minded coach, the start that he's probably going to need in New York.
Yeah, and they were in on Tremaine Edmonds in the trade market during the offseason so far, so I think they are willing and wanting a linebacker of that size, that caliber. Obviously, they didn't get Edmonds. They haven't had much luck with linebackers. They signed or traded for Bobby Okereke, a couple of years ago. That didn't work out. So I think linebacker is a big need for them, as is secondary. But, I think really if this draft plays like it has in real life, I think it will be between the two Ohio State guys and Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs. Just guys that I think can just change the identity of your defense, which they desperately need.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Cleveland Browns are up. This is your pick. I was not sure what in the world made you pick this player, and I want to hear why, because I'm sure you have a good reason.
Yeah, I mean, number one, Browns taking Monroe Freeland here. Number one, all their offensive linemen, were dead from last season, right? They have to replace all of them. And
they're just fully deceased. Bring out the headstones. They're not even there anymore.
I mean, they were so, you can make an argument they are. I mean, they were so injured too. It wasn't worth even bringing them back. And I know they got some linemen in free agency and in the trade market with Titus Howard from the Texans. But listen, man, you and I both know offensive line is super important. It's also important to draft one and develop one. You can't make your way through the gauntlet by just signing and trading for offensive linemen. That's not going to work. You have to draft and develop your own. and I think they need a left tackle. Freeling is a left tackle, and I could see a world where they could talk themselves into him becoming the next Joe Thomas, just because Browns fans need to hold on to something to soothe their sadness, and I think they could talk themselves into Monroe Freeling. And athleticism-wise, I think he is worth a first-round pick, top 15 pick. It's just, hey, he's a true junior. He hasn't had much time. Yeah. He needs to develop still, but listen, the only way to develop is to play, and the Browns really aren't doing anything the next couple of years, so draft him. And honestly, if he were to come back, right, for a senior year, I think you can make a case that, if he developed on the same path, he probably could have been a top 5, top 3 pick next year, right? We see that a lot too, so that's kind of my thinking there.
That's fine. I don't know how much I love Monroe Freeling, which is okay. That's totally fine. It just means I need to go back.
I know why you don't like him, but listen,
I think he's closer to 15 more than he's closer to 5. Listen,
I know the first guy to come off the board was a Georgia guy, right? Alabama guy hasn't picked yet, so I know you're upset. But listen,
No, see, I feel like you're going to feel the same way about my next pick. So my next pick is the Washington Commanders are on the board. They're going to go ahead and take T-Rex, Ruben Bain Jr., the edge rusher out of Miami. Listen, T-Rex arms are not. I said this to Dad at the dinner table. I said, listen to me. I said, if I am on the board and I have a guy that gets to the quarterback consistently, I don't care if he's got silly strings for arms. I don't. If you can get there and you can hurt somebody, that's the dude I want on my team. And you know what? The Commanders are so stupid because here you are at pick 7 because you wouldn't address the edge rusher and the pass rush. And here you are. We literally said this last year. We said when you don't address certain things, you're going to be back in the pool picking those things you didn't address. So I could see them going downs. I could see them going maybe receiver, but it's got to be edge rusher. Because if you don't do it here, where are you going to do it? And Bain deserves the hype, maybe not 7. And I'm ready for you to roast me on that, and that's okay. But I can't see it. With the way the board fell, I was like, you have to take that risk. Because if you waste Jaden Daniels, you may not have a fan base after that.
Yeah, I think if he did have longer arms, he probably would be the second pick overall. Honestly.
Oh, yeah.
He dominates. He dominates everything. He's good at stuffing the run. He gets in the quarterback's face. He makes you feel him like he's a scary dude to line up against. And the command, much like the Browns with Monroe Freeling, you need to draft and develop your edge rushers. We've seen that you can sign and trade for quarterbacks and it works. We've seen that you can trade for receivers or sign them and it works. Same for tight end. Same for linebackers, corner. It happens all the time. But edge rushers too, they want a lot of money, man. And they're expensive. So if you can get a homegrown one, Ruben Bain, who's ready to go, who's ready to play right away, you can get him cheap for the next 5 years. Do it because your defense sucks and you have no pass rushers. I know they got Owe in free agency, and they also got K'Lavon Chaisson, but they're not run stuffers, not even close. They are pretty much pure pass rushers. And I know you could probably speak to that because you're a Ravens fan. Odafe Owe wasn't much of a run stuffer with the Chargers or the Ravens, so they need a guy, an every down guy like that, and I think Ruben Bain can do that for them.
I agree with you. I finally figured out what was going on with my dang headset, so nice. I figured I'd throw it on real quick so I can feel professional. No. I agree with you. Yeah. Let's just go ahead and get into the New Orleans Saints because I loved your pick and I didn't realize how much I loved it until I went back and reviewed it. So I'm not even going to take your thunder.
Mansour Delane to the Saints. He can stay local boy, low moving cost. That's what we'd like to see. Saints lost Alontae Taylor in the offseason so far. I think their only other corner that's worth a darn is your boy Kool-Aid McKinstry. So I think Mansour Delane can be opposite of him and be a shutdown corner. I think they've got offensive line figured out. They got the running back position figured out. seems like they have the quarterback position figured out. You can make a case for a receiver, definitely, but I think there's also going to be really good receivers in the second round that they could target. I don't know if you're going to get a Mansour Delane in the second round, so that's why I want him pick number.
No, I like it. I think Delane went from maybe like cornerback 3, and then it's the longer that like the draft season went on and off season and combine, he's just kind of skyrocketed that like it wouldn't really shock me if he went above 8 too. Like it's and I think Downs probably is the better overall secondary player, but again, we've talked about like positional value and how the NFL views safety, even though I think that's horribly unfair to Downs. But let's go Kansas City Chiefs because I like this pick. I think this is bringing Maserati in for Mahomes, and that's Carnell Tate, the wide receiver for Ohio State. If you could go back in time and know that you may get an A.J. Brown type, young, cheap, on a rookie deal, you might be the Tennessee Titans and then trade him for nothing. But you could also be the Kansas City Chiefs and pick up Carnell Tate. And I just love this because, they signed Kelsey to that extension, which I didn't love. It's not that it's Kelsey. I just feel like I would have liked to see them be more aggressive to do more things for Mahomes. So that makes me think they're looking at a wide receiver in the first or second round because you don't have a downfield threat. Juju left. I believe Juju's with the Eagles now, if I remember correctly. I'm so sorry about that for you, Rip. Sorry for your loss.
He's not, but even if he was still with the Chiefs,
it wouldn't matter. It's really just a TikTok channel for the Chiefs, But I just like Tate because Tate brings that big body presence outside. And finally, regardless of what happens with the rest of the receiver room, you've got a big man on the outside that you can rely on. Kelsey can take a supplemental role, and then Kenny Walker can kind of help in the backfield. So I think they're one pick away from refitting their entire offense.
Yeah, I like the pick. I think you were thinking of Hollywood Brown. That's who you were
Hollywood Brown, thank you. Yeah. Hollywood and Juju are pretty much the same in my brain.
and he was all right. You're right. He was a good downfield threat for the Chiefs. So right. They lost him. Rashee Rice is in and out of prison probably.
He can go sit. He can play on the same team as Henry Ruggs. So
Oh jeez. They need. Listen, I hate saying this as a Penn State fan, but if you're an NFL team and you need a receiver, get an Ohio State receiver. What do we do? Just they're professionals. They get open. They're great route runners. They got good hands. They're smart. You know what I mean? They're just coached really well. And the Chiefs need a real receiver. I don't think Rashee Rice is a real receiver, honestly. I don't even know if he's a real person, to be honest. But they need a real receiver that can do everything. That just makes their offense much more dynamic, and a guy on the outside that Mahomes can just implicitly trust. So, I like that pick.
Where did Rashee Rice go again? Did he go to Georgia? It seemed like a Georgia thing, so I just wanted to make sure. I'm sorry. I know where Rashee Rice went. Sorry, I'm just being okay. Anyways, pick 10. The Cincinnati Bengals. It feels lazy to put an Ohio State person to the Bengals. But in this case, if you get Caleb Downs at 10, I think you run the card up, number one, and then number two, you forfeit the rest of your picks for the draft because I think you won. That's the most value pick you can get at 10, is to take the most blue chip prospect guy at 10. It's like when you guys got Jalen Carter. You know what I mean? Jalen Carter?
Yeah, Jalen Carter. Yeah.
I get all the Bulldogs and Roll Tiders confused because that's your whole roster. But I just I've already talked about Downs. I think Downs is electric. I think Downs is incredible. I think the secondary has been a problem for the Bengals for 2 years. If you want to compete in that division, now is the time, because the Steelers are a hot mess. The Browns have always and will always be a hot mess. And the Ravens are kind of going through an identity crisis now that, we lied to everybody that we want to do a trade with. So, this is the time, strike while the iron's hot, and I think if you're going to win, you have to take the player that's going to move you most on the board more than positional need in that case. And I think Downs kind of fits both, but I'd say more talent for them and like best on the board.
Yeah, I think if you look at that division too, I think that makes sense for him to go there. You know, there's just so much history at that position in that division with Paul Malos of the world, right? Ravens with the Ed Reeds of the world, now Kyle Hamilton. I think Caleb Downs here makes a lot of sense. A guy that can change the entire back half of your defense and give you an identity. The Bengals are what they are on offense. Like, they just need to stay healthy and, keep investing in the offensive line like we tell them every year. But they are what they are, and they're not going to probably invest in the offensive line because they just don't. But the defense is just horrid, and they need blue chippers. And if the blue chipper of Caleb Downs falls to you at 10, like you said, run the card up and don't look back.
I prefer potato chips, but blue chippers are good too. Pick 11, let's not waste time here for the Miami Dolphins that have decided to jettison any player off their roster that knows how to play football at a high level. Besides Tua. Tua just thinks it's Christmas and he's going home to see his family. Anyways, that was really bad. Sorry. The Miami Dolphins are going to take Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver out of USC. I like Lemon. I've been hearing a whole lot of shades of Amon-Ra. And
you like limes, though?
What?
You like limes?
I like limes and hello rhymes. That's what I like. What did I say? Did I say limes?
No, you said you like lemons. I just asked if you like limes.
Oh, sorry. I do. I like lemon and limes. That's why Mekhi Sprite is going to the Miami Dolphins. Because, you know what? We should do like an ad segment. Sprite. You can't have a lemon on the Dolphins without a cool, crispy Sprite. That's our tag for this video. Anyways, no. You got rid of Waddle, which I guess makes sense from like a financial standpoint, but from a I want to win football anytime soon, no, that was stupid.
Man, you're totally missing. They signed Jalen Tolbert in free agency.
You remember when we were like, he might actually be something with the Cowboys, man? Like, here it is. The Cowboys got nobody. It's going to be Tolbert.
Yeah. Well, that's how the draft goes. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong.
Yep.
No, you're right. I think Lemon's the right pick. Like you said, all the receivers are gone. Shades of Amon-Ra. They have no offense. Devin A-Chain is in trade talks. I don't know what their plan is, but they need a receiver. Like, they need to field a team. And I think Mekhi Lemon can be a number one receiver and a guy you can throw the ball to a lot. Like, I think he can eat up a lot of the targets, which is good because they don't have anyone else to get targets. So, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense.
I think Malik Willis is about to become the Jackie Moon of the NFL. Anyways, yeah. That's what it's going to be. Pass the ball to you. Pass the ball back. Pass the ball to you. Okay, I'm ready. Pass it back. Pass it back. Yeah, that's 100% what that's going to be. The Dallas Cowboys. Spicy, Kyle, but I like it. It's a good spicy, and it's the kind of spicy that makes me have horrible diarrhea for 3 days, but I love it. Why this pick?
Yeah, Cowboys getting Christian Parker in the offseason, the former secondary coach from the Eagles. He worked with the all-white team, the white milk boys, the exciting whites, Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship. That's not exactly why I'm taking Tiananmen just because he's white, but the Cowboys, they need secondary help. That's been, the entire defense has been bad, right? And I think that's been a common occurrence for a lot of these teams in the top half of the round. I think you've probably heard me say, their defense is atrocious. Well, it is. So you need to draft defensive players. And I think Tiananmen can do so much for the back half of that secondary. I think he'll be able to line up anywhere. He'll be able to line people up in the right places. He'll be able to play man. He'll be able to play zone. He's athletic enough to do everything, but also smart enough to do everything. He was a ball hawk at Purdue, really good player, and he goes to Oregon, and he picks off Drew Auer at the end of the Oregon-Penn State game, and then my season went foot, as did my life. No, I'm just kidding. Sort of. But I think he's that guy that can just fill out that defense that desperately needs.
I'm still on your Drew Aller line. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I think he's a dude, and I'm an Eagles fan, and I would love for him to fall lower and lower so the Eagles can trade up and get him.
Yeah.
But I think he can, I don't want to call him Harrison Smith because that feels like a cop-out because I'm just comparing two white safeties, but I think he is a guy that can play for a long time at a really high level.
I love this pick because it's what they should do. I hate this pick because you insinuate that Jerry Jones is smart. I traded Michael Parsons for a bag of chips and I'm winning.
Hey man, they're still looking for a pass rusher, so he's not too smart.
If only they had one. Man.
Right.
Sorry. Pick 13, Los Angeles Rams. Okay. So we took Monroe Freeling, so I think the only other dude that's like way on up there for offensive line is Francis Mauigoa, tackle/guard for Miami. This kind of works for the Rams for several reasons. Number one, Rob Haverstein is like 5 billion thousand years old, which so is Stafford, but a lineman can get to be that age and still play well, a quarterback cannot. They need to start thinking, because what do you think? I think Stafford's got, 2-3 year window before he's done? If that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Havenstein retired. I think so. Let's double check that. So I think that pick makes a ton of sense. They need to beef up the right side of the offensive line.
All right. So I know you're going to do it with the Eagles. Can I do it with Baltimore?
What's that?
Can I talk about Baltimore?
Oh, sure. Yeah, good.
Fantastic. I like this team, in case you guys didn't know. The Baltimore Ravens at pick 14 are going to take Kenyon Freaky Siddiqui, the tight end out of Oregon. I'm actually really thrilled for this pick, and I'm so glad you gave me a bone here because there's not a lot to be excited about in Baltimore right this second. But hey, you know what? Kenyon Siddiqui looks incredible. He is fast. He's freaky. He's athletic. They stick him in the slot. They put him back and ran him as a running back on a few plays at Oregon. I was like, oh, so we actually have what I told you Tyler Warren was going to be at the next level. So if I can take a faster Tyler Warren, I will take it because I love Mark Andrews to death. I do. But Marky Mark was a whole lot better when he had the funky bunch behind him. And all of the funky bunch left him. Charlie Kolar, Isaiah Likely. He doesn't have the funky bunch anymore. And it's just Marky Mark. And you know what? If you put it in the hands of Marky Mark, he's going to drop it when he needs to get that touchdown. And that's what's really going to upset me. So I think they need to start thinking about life without Mark Andrews. And this is a great, great way to do it.
I was trying to follow all the references. I was wondering if you were going to sneak anything else in there.
No, I'm good. Not this time.
Yeah, listen, I love this pick. I'm not quite sure about it because what if he fails his physical?
Oh, you're terrible. I thought you were moving on to 15. Awful. Wow, I can't believe you.
15.
Go ahead. So 15 at that pick, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who do you have them taking?
This was your pick, C.J. Allen.
That is true.
I do like it, though, because Mr. Levante David just retired. And a beautiful retirement speech, by the way. If anyone's a girl dad out there, Brad's soon gonna be. Just beautiful what he talked about in that press conference. But they need a leader on that defense. I don't think he's tremendous in coverage, but he is a downhill run stuffer, thumper. Georgia boy again, so hopefully obeys the speed limit. But I think he fits tremendously on that defense and going to be a leader for them.
Shout out to 7th Round on Instagram. Been following this guy for 4 years. He puts out some excellent draft rumors. The draft rumor he put out yesterday was that Tampa Bay likes C.J. Allen, and they've spent a lot of time with him at this pro day, as well as the Cowboys, and the Steelers could also be somebody that's looking for him at pick 21. So this makes a lot of sense that this is what they're kind of looking for at that pick. I'll make fun of Georgia, but C.J. Allen is like Sonny Styles light. He's not quite as explosive and getting around the field as Styles is, but I think it's still a pretty good pick to have in round one. Pick 16 is yours. New York Jets are back up again at 16, and I loved this pick, and I'm sure you did too.
Yeah, my boy Venga Ioane from Penn State. Listen, the Jets. Yeah, the Jets lost John Simpson. He went back to the Ravens. Shout out your boy. They signed Dylan Parham, but they also lost Elijah Vera Tucker. So I think they could use another interior guard. They could slide Joe Tittman back to center and put Vega at right guard or left guard. I think that would make a lot of sense. If you ever watched, listen, I don't recommend, if you're looking for some exciting football, I don't recommend you watch offensive lineman tape. But for Vega, yes. Last year, especially, they put him in the slot a number of times and had him, moving through the backfield, and then they hiked the ball, and then he would just truck people. He was a fun offensive lineman to watch, but also he was just technically sound, very quick with his hands. He's a massive human being, so it's hard to get around him. In the run game, he could use a little step up, but I think he's going to fit extremely well in that Jets offense, who also has another Penn Stater with Olu Fashanu. So you could see Olu and Vega at left tackle and left guard, Penn State left side of the offensive line, and that'll be the most exciting thing about the Jets.
Hey, it's the wrong team, but Viva Las Vegas. Pick 17, Detroit Lions. The Lions were really disappointing this past season. I really kind of expected more of them, thought they were going to be a little bit better, and they weren't, and that's okay. And a lot of the problem was their offensive line, which is kind of wild because you and I have talked about how good they have been over the past couple years. Spencer Fano makes sense, the tackle out of Utah. Kind of gives them some insurance, as well as somebody that can probably plug and play day one, which if you're now going to rely on Gibbs, which it seems they've been very, very indicative of doing because Pacheco couldn't even handle a starting role with the Chiefs, let alone a backup role with the Lions, it just feels like they're going to go back to a run-heavy style.
Yeah, I don't know why you're disrespecting Isaiah Pacheco like that. But
he runs like a toddler.
I'm just kidding. You can disrespect him. Yeah, the Lions desperately need some more offensive linemen. They got rid of Taylor Decker, I believe. That's what they're bringing. So, they need to replenish that. And Fano, I think he could go higher, but just the way that our board fell, I think if he's still on the board, probably the best player remaining and at a position of need. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
All right, it is time for your pick. Minnesota Vikings at 18.
Yeah, another Toledo boy, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren out of Toledo, the safety, a guy that can kill you, but also a guy that can pick off 7 interceptions in a year. He's just a guy that does everything. Forces fumbles, gets picks, he'll sack you, he'll hit you, he'll knock you out. He's good in coverage. He's a deep safety. I think everybody's kind of looking into that Toledo secondary and that Toledo team and how they keep sending guys to the NFL. So I think something's working out there. And listen, shout out Ohio. All right, I'm not one to shout out Ohio a lot because I don't know much about it, but they produce a lot of good players. If you go to the NFL Hall of Fame, and I don't even know if Warren's from Ohio, but I'm just saying Ohio players in general, they're legit, and they got a lot of good players in Ohio. And Toledo's just banging them out year after year after year, and the Vikings have that need at safety with Harrison Smith, being ancient and being a free agent. So, I really like this pick for the Vikings, and a team that desperately needs to do something right. Guys, remember they got rid of their GM, Kwesi, a couple months ago. So, yeah. I don't know where they're going to go because they do have a new GM, and they got Kyler Murray. So will they invest on the offense? But ultimately, I think they just need to pick the best player available and get some better players in the team.
So you said something about Ohio, and I do want to tangent for 2 seconds. The kindest thing I can say about Ohio, being someone that's driven through there a lot, is hell might be a little more exciting than Ohio is. If you like cornfields and a lot of construction, go through Ohio. Pick 19 is the Carolina Panthers. Sorry. Well, there's a sign that says, like, welcome to happiness or whatever when you go through Ohio, and Devin and I always say welcome to hell. I'll cut that out. Pick 19 is the Carolina Panthers. And listen, let's just keep this short and sweet. The Panthers have a lot of needs on offense. I think they need to support Bryce Young. Do I think they could go edge rush here? Absolutely. But I think just with the way our board fell, if you have Jordan Tyson available at 19, you take Jordan Tyson. I know there's injury concerns. I know that he's maybe going to be healthy by the start of the season. But Jordan Tyson should have been the wide receiver one of this class. And injury is the only reason he is not. So if I'm Carolina at 19, take the swing. Take the pick. Why not? What's it going to do? You didn't think Bryce was going to do anything either. And then he gave you a whole lot of juice in the end of the season. So it's kind of the same with Jordan Tyson. Like, he might pan out, he might not, but it's kind of worth it at 19 as opposed to pick 5, you know?
Yeah, and I think this pick kind of just gives credence to the fact that, like, do we know what we have in Bryce Young? And if you give him Jordan Tyson, if you give him Ted McMillan, if you give him Jalen Coker as your receiver 3, if you give him a good offensive line and he still can't get it done, then you kind of know that maybe it's time to move on. And I do think that's where we're headed with some of these quarterbacks. Give them everything you can, and if they still can't get it done, and it's probably the coach or probably the quarterback. I think that's what they're going to have to decide this next year. Because their defense played pretty well, but their offense at times really, really sputtered. And I don't think Xavier Legette is the guy to lean on. Particularly, you have no idea what the heck he's saying, but also because I don't think he's lived up to the hype.
Yeah, that's fair. Pick 20 is yours. Dallas Cowboys, again, are they going with another white safety?
I wish. I don't know if there's one available. 20 is Keldrick Falk at defensive end. He's kind of like a DeMarcus Lawrence. Listen, they're looking for edge rush. We talked about it earlier. They missed Micah Parsons. Why'd you trade him anyway? But Keldrick Falk is not that type of edge rusher, but he is a guy that can set the tone for that defense. They were horrible against the run last year. Now, getting Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark did help, but at edge rush, they don't have that guy. Eziraku has been nice for them, but he's not a run stuffer. He's not a guy that can control the line of scrimmage. Keldrick Falk has that already in him. He's only 20 years old. And apparently people just are raving about him in interviews. I just think he's a really solid dude. So I don't want him to go to the Cowboys because he is a solid dude, but I think that would make a lot of sense.
I think if he was a liquid or a gas dude, I wouldn't care as much, but because he's solid, I think that's what hurts me. Pick 21 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Almost bungled the words. But you know what I love about this pick? It's Caden Proctor, tackle from Alabama. Now, I've seen people put him in the top 10. I've seen people put him at 32. I've seen people not even have him in the first round. And unfortunately, he didn't really do anything for himself this draft season to convince people otherwise. And that's the sucky part. Now, I know the pro day was today. I don't know if he did anything for that. I'll have to go back and look.
I do know. Apparently, teams were very, very impressed with him. He got his weight down to 355. And it's stayed there for the last 4 months.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, that's important because he was playing 360, 370s, I think. But if he can get down to even 345 at some point and he can stay at that, that just gives him a little more juice, but also maybe the ability to stay at tackle. Because I've seen reps of him just stonewalling people at tackle. Just because he's a massive human being. But then I also see maybe if he did lose a little weight and maybe he could be a little bit more nimble, maybe he can, get those edge rushers that are a little bit wider out and try to go around him. So, if he can keep his weight down like that, and I think with his pro day, I think a lot of teams were impressed from what I've seen. I think this would be good for the Steelers because Broderick Jones, I don't know about him, but either way, he can play tackle or guard. So, I love that pick for the Steelers.
Especially because the one thing we didn't mention is they also used him in some weird packages as a fullback, a running back, a tight end.
Right. Yeah,
he can do it all, and I think Pittsburgh would kind of love that as a team that's kind of searching for an identity right now.
for sure. And listen, like, and I would like this pick, but at the same time, once this pick goes in and everyone cheers, I'm like, all right, who's playing quarterback? So
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna say until the Steelers figure that out. Because oh dear Lord, that's just
Halfway through the draft, Aaron Rodgers will come out of his like cocoon or wherever he goes with ayahuasca and say, "Oh, I'm not coming back. I'm done."
I mean, if I was a Steelers fan, oh man, I'd be so pissed. Like waiting on a 42-year-old to get out of hiding. Like
it's Aaron Rodgers, dude. Like it's it comes with the territory. They knew that.
Right. 22. This was my pick. Yeah, 22.
Yeah.
Chargers taking Akeem Mesidor, defensive end out of Miami. Man, he did so much damage along that front with Ruben Bain with Miami. You know, obviously he's 25 years old and that's not great, but I think for a team like the Chargers it makes sense because they're in that win now mode. They need a dominant edge rusher. Khalil Mack's not lasting forever. They need a guy who can get freaky a little bit and make quarterbacks suffer. He's a little bit of a tweener, but like I think he started out at D tackle at West Virginia, if I believe, and then eventually molded his body a little bit to become more of a defensive end. But I don't think he's worth taking in the top 10 because of his age. But I do think for a playoff caliber team, I think it does make sense because he can play right away and produce the next, his first contract at least. His second contract, he's going to be 31, so, I don't know about that. But his first contract, at least, I think that would make sense for the Chargers.
Yeah, I did your pick for 23, but if you want, I stole yours for the Ravens. You can steal mine for Philly.
All right. Yeah, Eagles taking Omar Cooper Jr. here. I think either way, if AJ does or doesn't get traded, the Eagles are known to take players a year early. For example, they took, I'm blanking. They took Dallas Goedert, right? A number of years ago when they already had Zach Ertz. They were preparing for that. They like taking tackles and guards a year early. Landon Dickerson, he wasn't going to play it right away, but then an injury happened and he did play right away. They took Cam Jurgens. They like to take guys a year early in order to replenish that position. And Omar Cooper is that dude. I love his change of direction ability. I love how he fights off would-be tacklers and gets just so much rack. And I think if you're replacing A.J. Brown at some point, I think that's going to be either this year or next year, you need a solid replacement plan. I think Omar Cooper, while he's not as physical, as big as A.J., I think he can offer a few similar things that A.J. does.
Yeah, he can catch the ball. That's probably the similar thing he can do that A.J. does. Pick 24 is the Cleveland Browns. I hate this pick. Just get it over with.
Yeah. Browns taking Ty Simpson. I don't know why. It's your boy. I mean, you can talk about him.
He's going to have to share a locker room with Deshaun Watson, and if Deshaun Watson tries to massage him to death, I'm going to be upset because then he's going to leave.
Listen, man, I mean, you got to do what you got to do at that point.
Just rub my shoulders, Ty. Come on over. Like, no, leave him alone.
Listen, if they draft Ty Simpson, Deshaun Watson, he's done, Like, Ty Simpson will be the dude.
If they draft Ty Simpson, Shadur Sanders is going to undraft himself from the Browns.
Yeah. And also Mel Kiper will do that as well, because Mel Kiper has a hard-on for Shadur Sanders. But, yeah, I mean, I think Ty Simpson's going to go in the first round. I struggle to know where to put him. I don't know if he's worth taking the top 10. I don't know if he's worth taking the top 15. I could see maybe a team like the Cardinals trading back up to get him. That would make sense. But I think if you're a team like the Steelers or the Browns, man, like you need a quarterback, man. Like you need to do it. You need to get one. You need someone to believe in because no one believes in Shador and no one believes in Aaron Rodgers. Like, go ahead and get one and develop them. So that's why I went there. I just think they need a guy. They need a leader. So
yeah, that makes sense. Pick 25, Chicago Bears. Have them taking Peter Woods, defensive lineman out of Clemson. Listen. Oh, Pete. Probably could have been a lot higher on here, but he had kind of had a rough season. I guess you could say Clemson, everyone from Clemson kind of had a rough season. But that's not necessarily a bad thing per se. Like, it's just kind of like, what else are you supposed to do in that situation other than make the best of it? But I will say Peter Woods reminds people of Brian Brisset, and that kid has had quite the career so far with the Saints. So I think if you can get like a pick like that back there at 25, Kyle made a weird look at me, so I was like, am I saying the right words in the right team? I must be, because he didn't correct me. But like, look, the Bears were shockingly like one game away from being there, but they did play the Rams, and I will say the Rams are a pretty jacked team. But their defense is really what's holding them back. The offense was surprisingly really good. And I'd like to see kind of that game wrecker in the middle of Woods. Maybe that would be like that extra juice that they need to go to the next level. Could take an edge rusher here. I think you would probably make an argument for that too, but this is just kind of how the board fell, and Woods is a great pick.
Yeah, all the Bears fans have been clamoring for a D tackle in free agency so far, so I think it's a big need, and he would fill that. The Bills at 26. I have them taking Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M, formerly NC State boy. Very speedy, very fast, very quick, can return punts, can return kicks. Deep threat, dynamic threat. He drops too many footballs for my liking, but he'll fit right in with the Buffalo Bills. But they got DJ Moore. I still don't love their receiver room. And I don't like Denzel Boston. I don't know. Like, I like Denzel Boston, but I don't think he's dynamic enough to what the Bills need. Like, I think he's a little too similar to Keon Coleman. And I don't think they're going to go that route. And I think they want some dynamic athlete at the receiver position. That's what they're looking for. So I think Concepcion can do that. I think he can play on the outside, in the slot. He can return punts for them. And I think they could use him in a variety of ways because they need that. They really need to stop making Josh do everything.
Agreed. Pick 27, San Francisco 49ers. Going to take Caleb Lomu, the tackle out of Utah. Kind of makes sense. The Niners are just very injury prone. How in the world they keep making it to the playoffs, who knows? They make it on like a broken leg, like no fingers, and like a concussion. Like, I'm here to play football, and the ref's like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah! And then they get blown out. And part of that is protecting Brock Purdy. I think I can count on like almost two hands how many times that dude has been hurt over the past like 2 or 3 seasons, which is terrible if you're a Niners fan. But also you could say that about receiver, you could say that about running back, you could say that, like, I'll just list every single position on the field. I think they're unlucky. I think probably that unluckiness will break off at some point. But offensive line has to be it. Trent Williams isn't going to play forever. Like, they've got to plan for an eventuality when he steps away. And that feels smart to address early.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I talked about, this pick, and that fit a lot. And Trent Williams, there were rumors that he was going to be traded, so I think they are looking at left tackle for sure. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but there's an electrical substation adjacent to the 49ers facility, and people think that is causing a high rate of soft tissue injuries.
Wait.
So I don't know if you want to look into that conspiracy theory. I don't know if you've ever
Pikachu is like shocking players while they're practicing. Is that what you're telling me, or like?
I don't know, but a lot of players are concerned, and there's a conspiracy. And listen, I don't want to get too crazy here, but a lot of conspiracy theories have been proven right recently. So I think people should look into that. That's all I'm saying.
Pikachu, I choose you. Use Thunderbolt.
Sorry. All right, I'm good now.
Tears Kittle's ACL. Poor George Kittle.
Ash Ketchum tore his ACL. He's out for the season. The Houston Texans are up at 28. Kyle, that one's yours.
Yeah, now I just keep thinking of Ash Ketchum tearing his ACL. Caden McDonald here to the Texans. They've addressed offensive line a little bit. I still think they can do more, but Texans won't. So they're the Texans, and they are fine with C.J. Stroud getting hit. So I think Caden McDonald has the run stuffing and nose tackle. They need someone like that. I think we've had Caleb Banks We've talked about him here at this position, but I believe he got hurt again. That's not great. And Caden McDonald had a really good workout recently, pro day. I think he's going to get talks back in the first round.
Yep, I like that pick. I liked it when you picked it, and I was kind of mad because I was like, well, that could have slotted in at pick 29, too, as a replacement for Chris Jones. Is that right? That feels too basic. Is it Chris Jones?
Yeah, I mean, he still has some years left.
Okay, I was like, Chris Jones feels like a basic name. Am I wrong? I'm not wrong. Okay, good. So pick 29 is the Kansas City Chiefs. I have them taking Jermod McCoy. Now, they did trade a McDuffie and a side of fries to be able to move into the first round for a second pick. But here's where I'm going to make the case for McCoy. Let's say McCoy isn't ready for the season. The Chiefs are one of the few teams that I feel like can afford to let him sit and get healthy without, like, wasting their whole season. And so it kind of makes sense if McCoy falls here that they'd just be like, I mean, yeah, why not? It's because if he was healthy, he'd be top 10. And it's the same thing with Jordan Tyson. Like, if the board falls that way, why not? You can afford to wait. You can afford to wait for, like, 3, 4, 5 games and still not hurt you.
For sure.
And I think it would be a good fit, too, because if he plays anywhere near, like, what he played like before injury, this would be the steal of the draft at 29.
Yeah, I mean, that's logical. I mean, with Mahomes coming off injury too, like, you don't need to rush anybody, right? You want to be slow and right rather than fast and wrong. So, getting McCoy back to health is important. I'll be intrigued to figure out, like, why he didn't do combine stuff or Senior Bowl, because he was healthy. I think that'll be the intriguing part. Is I don't know if it's injury related. I mean, he definitely got injured, but also, like, what's the mental side of it? I think the Chiefs are definitely willing to take guys that are a little odd, obviously. So that makes sense to me.
The mental side of it for me might also be the Caleb Williams thing. I don't want to show out and get stuck with a crappy team my whole career. If I don't have to practice and I go in the back half and land with the Chiefs, I'm not going to cry. Like, that's not a bad spot to land in.
That's what Jalen Carter did. He tanked his pro day and and fell to the Eagles, and then he shaped up and
perfectly fine. Yep. Pick 30, Miami Dolphins Part 2. What you got?
Yeah, I got Avion Terrell here for the Dolphins. I think he's just he's ready for the NFL. His brother's in the NFL. Terrell can play in the slot. He can play on the outside. He's super quick with his hands, with his feet. He mirrors routes incredibly well. He's not the biggest guy ever, but I think for a team like the Dolphins, who just got rid of Minka, a couple years ago, got rid of Jalen Ramsey, they have a big need there in the secondary. And again, this is a team that, like, you could pick anything and it would probably make sense. So, like, I don't really have to talk anybody else into this pick because, like, they just need good players, and he's a good player. Yeah.
Let's go pick 31, the New England Patriots. Now, look, they did really good, and they made it to the Super Bowl, but that doesn't mean you're perfect, and that doesn't mean there aren't things you can't work on. And as much as I want to put an offensive lineman here, as much as I want to do that, the fact that Diggs is out and I have to scratch my brain to think about who was the second leading receiver for them is a problem. I feel like New England's just been really good at subsisting on crappy to, like, mid-level wide receivers forever. But if you want the most out of Drake May, you can't perform the way you did in the Super Bowl. And sure, let Diggs walk. That's fine. But then also look for, like, Denzel Boston from Washington. And that's what I have them taking here, is you can't get into a vacuum and then expect to produce at a high level. And I feel like I'm going to hear a lot of the Harry pick again. Is that what this is going to be? Are we just going to have to reach just to put a wide receiver in our closet, And I don't know. I think Boston's okay. I'm with you. He's definitely not the most explosive Washington wide receiver we've seen in a while. But that might be a good thing for him. Like, he may get a chance to kind of, like, thrive because there's not a ton of competition. Keishawn Butte and some other guys that play pretty Butte as well. So
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of like 2s and 3s, right? You're looking
Yes.
for that number 1, and I think that's why the AJ Brown stuff has come up, because he'll obviously be a number 1 on that team, and mostly at any other team. So yeah, Butte, Romeo Dobbs, who they signed, but like I don't think he's a number 1. Honestly,
No.
I don't know if he's much of a number 2, and I think
No.
with the way that the contract is structured, like I don't think they're like married to him for all 4 years. So I think that's a contract you can get out earlier rather than later. So looking at Boston, yeah, I think he has that physical profile of a number 1 and a guy that Drake May can trust on the outside to win him some jump balls from time to time, but like a big body receiver that he doesn't currently have. And I like Kyle Williams a lot. He had some nice moments. Shout out Kyle Williams. I talked about him last year about how he was one of my favorites, and he made some nice plays. But again, I think he's more of a number 3 kind of guy. And if I were them, I'd probably look like, if you're getting AJ, I would trade one of those receivers away. If you're getting Denzel Boston, I would trade one of those receivers away, because I think there's just some of them are just too similar.
Yeah, I agree. Pick 32 is the reigning champ Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I went with Brandon Cisse here from South Carolina. He's 6'1", 190. He has that build that I think will fit in Mike McDonald's defense. He's physical, he's tough, downhill. They got rid of Reek Woolen to the Eagles. Shout out, go Birds. But I think they're looking for someone a little bit more reliable, per se. And I think Josh Jobe, shout out Bama, your boy. I think they have very similar physical profiles. And yeah, they lost a corner. They need a corner. And they're going to be good again next year. So
Yeah, 100%. I love it. That is our Mock Draft 2.0. Guys, we will see you next time with Mock Draft 3.0. Please don't miss out. Like, subscribe, share so that you don't miss out. Outside of that, guys, thank you for joining us for all things football all the time. See you next time.
later.